play a piece of tape here. I think you're diagnosing this correctly. This all moves in a direction that the LGBT mafia, some, not all, but the mafia has been calling for years, which is sex with children, rape. Let's stop calling it sex with children, which is rape. This guy is a leading gay mafia leader, Peter Totchell, Australian-born British human rights campaigner. So it's a longer clip, and he talks that there's nothing wrong with having sex with a 9-year-old as long as the 9-year-old consents. He means this with total seriousness, as if a 9-year-old can consent. He says they love giving themselves away. In fact, they think it's this beautiful thing. This is a leading person in the rainbow jihadi community. Play cut 38.
He told me when he was about 50 that he had had sex with a young man when he was 9 years old. He said it was his choice. He said he wasn't pressured or manipulated. He said he had no regrets about that sexual experience. So my view is, that's what he's saying. It's his personal view as an adult, mature man looking back on his childhood. If he says that, who am I or you to dispute it? If an adult person looks back on an early sexual experience and says they consented to it, they were not pressured, they were not harmed, they have no regrets or complaint, I think we should do the honest thing and accept their viewpoint.
This is post-modernity at its finest, where he said, oh yeah, just accept it. As if child rape can be consented to. Obviously, this 9-year-old was preyed upon. Obviously, he was taken advantage of. And this is the way we're going. We are going to be going towards the abolition of consent laws, which Scott Wiener is getting closer and closer and closer to that line.
He is. I mean, look, we're starting to display porn in schools. Now they're talking about the fact that, like, you and I, based on those standards, are engaging in hate speech right now because we're referring to them as rapists and pedophiles when they want us to have this desensitized. This is part of the plan. And they want to refer to it as a minor attracted person, which is outrageous. To your point, let's call it what it is. These people are sick. They are rapists, they are pedophiles, they are predators. And people like Scott Wiener are paving the way, they're fast tracking the way to harm children in the state of California based on all of these bills.
There's one after the other, and you've done a really good job of summarizing it. But what he seems to be really the ringleader here. There's other people that support it, but he just relentlessly introduces the most radical bills imaginable. And so who are his constituents? Does he represent a lot of gay people?
He does. His district is San Francisco. So he does. He represents a lot of the LGBTQ community. What I found to be unbelievable, he's quoted on Twitter as saying, essentially, and I'm paraphrasing, let's not rush to judgment here on how we respond to monkeypox. If you guys remember, he was known for being out and engaging in these gay pride parades, and it was more than that. There was a lot of sexual behavior that these individuals were engaging in. At the same time, we're in the middle of COVID, and then of course they usher in their attempt to further panic us with monkeypox, which we know is an absolute scam. But he's quoted as saying, closing bathhouses in the 1980s, didn't reduce HIV. It was an epidemic blunder and push people into the shadows. Let's not make the same knee-jerk mistake with monkeypox, all while being one of the strongest voices for masking up, vaccinating children, locking businesses down. In fact, he's on video in several news interviews saying that children between the ages of 12 and 17 in the state of California. There's over 1 million of them that are not vaccinated for COVID. And as a result, he authored SB 866 as a piece of legislation to circumvent parents to make sure that children were vaccinated without parent knowledge or consent.
And it's the parental consent that bothers them the most. By the way, we call it the trans kidnapping bill for a reason, just so everybody understands. It basically orders courts to ignore rulings in other states that are based on laws barring child mutilation. We call it kidnapping because a parent could flee those states who loses a custody battle, come to California and say they need transgender care and use that to override custody decisions of other states. That's why we call it that. 30 seconds, we'll pick it up after the break.
It's crazy. So right now you cannot take your child under 18, or your child, I should say, under 18 cannot go get their ears pierced in the state of California without parent knowledge and consent, without the parent having to show their ID and sign authorization. But yet your child, they want your child to be able to go out and engage in sexually promiscuous behavior that they're being groomed to engage in addition to that, making potentially life-altering decisions about their medical decision-making.